Right, hello, hello, hello. Oh, buds, come on. Eat your popcorn. You just spilled it everywhere. Yeah, we're starting off good. We got here 90 minutes here. Let's see if this works. There you go. We had everything set. He had his new bag of popcorn, his white cheddar popcorn, which he loves. And he just dumped it all over the floor. So yeah, starting off great this morning. Actually, let me get the chat over here. Chat up here. All right. That's good. That's good there. All right. So, as far as kind of what's moving. We still have the yen down over here, dollar yen, pound yen, kind of leveling off a little bit in the last 24 hours after that big burst. The non-farm data came in and it was horrible. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So pound dollar up again. You're seeing I don't want to say dollar weakness. It's just kind of like a restabilization for the most part. After that, the big move yesterday. Um, eh, we are seeing some rumblings out of Russia though. No, talking about changing, and we said before, the what we were waiting for in the whole kind of oil situation was really to hear that there was some good data coming out of China, right? Um, there was some, right? Where is it? Where is it? I saw it earlier today. So there was actually some positive data coming out of China, with I believe their services. So that helped. And again, Russia is now talking about OPEC Plus may tweak decisions earlier than needed. And there was a couple different things talking about. They're going to review it next month, anyway, just to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So yeah, we got that out there. But you can see euro dollar, pound dollar both up. Okay. Dollar yen again down from where we were yesterday. That will change in a little bit after we get the intervention price spike in there. And again, we retrace back from that. Dollar Swiss, you can see down. Dollar CAD just up a little bit, and I think this is more of an oil story than it is anything else. Aussie dollar up just a smidge. Euro pound down just a little bit. It's to 26 again, percentage wise. Again, not quite as much as the dollar yen, but the dollar yen is obviously in um, what 22 minutes, right? 22 minutes. We should see changes in that one. So, pound dollar basically flat from where we were. So that will change as well. And again, we've seen pound strength come back in pretty much across the board, right? Pound strength is the only consistent thing that we have coming. All right, so hold on a sec. All right, so ISM services coming in 22 minutes. Again, it's going to be another one of the kind of the drops in the hat. Not expected to change too much. I don't expect services to be too crazy, um, but you know, we'll see. All right. Other big news, and again, it's not really out here. I don't know if you, I'm sure you saw it at this point. McCarthy got voted out last night. First time it's ever happened. It was interesting. They were breaking it down a lot today. That obviously the extreme right was kind of really pissed off of the bill that went through. But it was interesting enough. Like, yes, it was a bipartisan bill, and there didn't need to be a bipartisan bill, but there was. He wanted to make sure everybody was happy. And then it was interesting, like again, the right obviously unhappy, right? But the right couldn't vote him out. They needed help from the other side of the aisle. And the other side of the aisle, even though it was a bipartisan bill, backstabbed him, was like, nah, he's weak. We don't want him. So it's kind of strange. The guy tried to do the right thing, try to go bipartisan, and obviously the extremists, it is funny, they were talking about how Gates gets whatever. It's kind of the extreme side. It's kind of like how AOC is an extreme on the other side. I was like, wow, she's been listed as an extremist now. Okay. And like no one even questioned it. They're like, maybe she's not extremist. But it just kind of went in. But basically saying that he forced a bill that both sides could, go with. And basically the Democrats were like, nope, you're weak. Get out. It's like, wow, he didn't force a Republican bill through that he could have. And then got shot down. But it's funny. He said he's not running again. A couple of people are like, nah, I don't want it either. Nobody wants it. right? And they're like, "Oh, this just shows how toxic the Republican Party is." It's like, really? Oh, I feel like he gave you something that you wanted and you stabbed him in the back. So I don't know. Whoever you talk to, it's a different thing. So yeah. So McCarthy's out. We don't have to hear McCarthy anymore. So we'll see who the next one in. I think they have a front runner. That person's like, "Oh, I'm not making a comment yet." So we'll see. It doesn't matter. Again, we're in the cancel culture zone. Whoever has the job, it's a thankless job. They're gonna be the worst ever at it, according to everybody else. Nobody, people don't want the job, but no one will support that person or give that person anything but an environment where they can fail. That is the political environment that we're in. So services will come out. Lagarde is going to speak in a little bit. Next thing we have really on the U.S. front after services will be tomorrow with unemployment claims, and we'll see. I mean, obviously the jobs number was a biggie, right? And we looked at hiring, and we said yesterday, that jobs thing was so big. Is that big because they're not hiring people? And it looks like that is the case. The reason why it was big is because they're not hiring people back. I guess it's just whether, not finding the right candidates or the candidates are asking for too much, right? They're like, nah, we'll just wait. We'll just wait. So yeah, there's that, right? There's that. I think it's kind of interesting, right? Kind of interesting how it's playing out. Um, Yeah, we'll see how it goes today. I mean, overall, yesterday, everybody knows what happens in the markets yesterday. I think it was entirely expected. And we said yesterday morning that jobs data was just monstrous, was just not a good sign for the markets. And again, did I expect that, I'm not, though, I'm not going to mention it, but there is one that was down quite large at 500 at one point. Yeah, yeah, and I don't. I mean, I think it's based off of what the market is, the beliefs have been. I think I think that was the right call. So yeah, that's what we got in the next 24 hours. Now the VIX, yeah, VIX got a little nuts yesterday. Actually broke above, and we were at what 2090, 2088, 2080 was the high. We haven't seen 20 for a while. We were playing with that 12, 13, 14. That was like, oh, we jumped to 15 and 16. Yeah, yeah. Um, Kind of interesting. Dollar, thankfully, pulling back. Thankfully, pulling back. Again, 107 was just absolutely insane. You can see there was the spike candle. It's like, oh God, it tried. And then this morning, Europeans, they were like, no, too much. Right there. There's the European Open. And it's been straight down. And funny enough, again, we talked about this side, how there was, the chop back and forth. And it kind of used it. And there's little front runs. And guess what it did on the downside? Same thing. Chop back and forth and then pushed a little bit lower. And it actually grabbed this little zone here, which is, I wouldn't have put too much credence in that, but it's what it bounced off of. Um, Question is, what do we do today? So, I mean, we'll see what services look like. Services could provide maybe a little bit of a shock. I feel like it, you know, I don't think it'll be too much of a shock. I mean, I think there's a lot of craziness out there anyway. Um, but could services mess this up enough that it's like, bam, we go crazy with the dollar trade? I don't think so. I really don't. I just don't think we're at a stage now where services in itself will be a kind of big deciding factor of really where the dollar strength is. We haven't gotten any major headlines, right? I think the headline thing has been a big piece of it. People are looking for a headline, looking for direction. They're like, wait, what do we do? We're not sure. And we don't actually have that. Which I think it is what it is. I don't think it's not surprising. Indices right now, minus the Russell, are up but barely there. YM is about to turn red. ES kind of holding up at 0.25%, not that much. NQ up 6.6. Excuse me. Technically strongest one on the board, but it's starting to deteriorate. And there you go. YM is now negative. ES is the next one, and it's down at 0.2. It's lost 0.05 in the last few seconds. So yeah. Now commodities, oil down 2.8%, down $2.59, right? Down to 86.66. That is awesome for so many different things. It's nice that we're finally retreating back again. But and the question is, think of it this way. Russia has said we will reevaluate next month to see if there's increased demand there. With price dropping, I mean, we were at 95 a week ago, right? With price dropping $10, is there actually going to be any motivation, right? Is there actually going to be any motivation to not keep these cuts going, right? Are they going to, are they going to raise them? And you got to realize if they, I mean, we're down $10. If they raise them now, oil collapses, right? So I know I feel like it's lip service, but at the same time, why it's awesome that natural gas or that oil is down 3%, natural gas is up 3.5%. It's like, oh, you got -3, we'll do +3, right? And again, it's like what, right? I get it. We're going more into the winter time frame where it's a bigger issue, right? But yeah, 305. What the heck, right? 305. Nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants 305. But yeah, that's what we're getting. So, yeah, 305. Yeah, yeah. Fun, fun, fun. So let's dive over in the currency. And then gold and silver, both down a little bit. Silver, again, below the 21 mark right now. Again, 2050, I think, is where the bottom is in that one, the 2050 to 2150 area. Gold down at 1821. So again, a little creep down, right down about a buck, bucking some change. Again, I think people are like, holy crap, what are they going to do? And even this morning, we talked about, are they going to raise again and then hold for a long time? Or are we just going to hold for a long time? If you remember, the Fed for a long time says, that they were going to take the mark, take interest rates to restrictive and then hold them there and quote for quite some time. Um, but yet everybody was blind to, everybody was blind to that one. All right. Aussie dollar. So yesterday also we talked about if we had a true bottom being put in there, we knew we had buyers and look for a pullback, and that's kind of what we had right now. It pulled back to the 63.39. You can see it actually went up to 42. Yeah, 42. So it went about 3 pips past. So again, you may be in this trade right now. Again, we have some more news coming in right now that, again, if it's positive, again, dollar strength would drive this back down again. Again, it's a technical level. It's not bad. Uh, all it's going to do is run back in, and you can see 1, 2, 3, and 4 hits all the way down there. So um, it's an okay move, right? It's an okay move. Between the two zones, there's about 42 pips. And a lot of this is coming from the dollar hangover yesterday, but we would need the dollar strength to kind of roll back into the market as well. Is what we would, kind of need to happen there, right? Um, Bop bump. Yeah. So again, I'm not going to go through it again. Why we picked the zone? It's the same thing from yesterday. So you got that sitting right there. Also, yeah. Also pulled back again. We were talking about this choppiness in there. We're like, hey, listen, we know we got a buy level right here. We knew that the intervention came in. It kind of just messed up a lot of stuff. It's funny. Nobody will confirm. Like, oh, intervention. We cannot comment about that. So the BOJ intervening is kind of like Fight Club at this point, right? No one is talking about Fight Club. Like, we will not comment if it happened or it did not happen. So it's awesome. It's like I cannot confirm nor deny if there was any assistance. Oh yeah, okay. 300 pips in the blink of an eye. Okay. No one did anything, right? Wasn't me. But same thing, if you adjust this down, you can see that we were up a little bit higher than 23.6. Again, the 23.6 kind of became like a stabilization point. And again, not really the best place to use a 23.6. Reason why um, is because there's so much. I don't want to say manipulation is the right word, but also not the right word. This that it's a lot, and it's not real. Yes, it is a big push, but again, there's other stabilizing factors out there, so not really a big one. I would say the next big level, I would say this little spike, and again, this is when the intervention happens, so use it with a grain of salt. But if we're able to rally up a little bit more, I think that's probably the best area to take that short from. Right around the 69 mark, right? 94.69. Again, very, very strong push. It didn't go any higher. We know why it happened here. But it just shows you that, again, there may be some more selling coming in at this point, right? Um, so yeah. So as far as the downside, we mentioned this yesterday. Again, once that intervention kind of slammed through it, wasn't necessarily something that we were really looking for. So again, we call the intervention in this is not the one that generated the intervention, the intervening, right? It was the other side, right? It was the dollar. It was the dollar side. Let's pull these. That's fine. I think that's the best one on the board. I think the 94.69 is the best short. It is in no man's land, just so everybody understands. It is in that middle 33 to 66%. So it is in the area where you kind of don't love it. But unfortunately, again, we're still playing with a candle that is involved with you know, an intervention, which is always makes it more difficult. It just it is what it is. It has to naturally work its way out. I guess is the best way to say that. Yeah, it's got to naturally work its way out. So yeah, I think that's it there. All right. Euro dollar. All right, so euro dollar. We can bring this one across. So you can see we talked about a little Harry Potter. Came in at 10, went all the way down, and then 11:30 kind of reversed back up and continued to grind down over here. Most likely, you kind of took this one off halfway through. Once we got to, at the end of the day, once it started to push back down again, you're obviously trailing this one. This one ended up missing by just a little tiny bit. It's 1 to 3. Actually, 1 to 3 is right. There's 3.01. It made it to 2.94. So I missed it by 0.06 to get to that 1 to 3. And it was a 10 for 30, right? Now this is actually a 10 for 35. So again, if you did the 30, you were good. Not surprised, it's over right now. So let's see. Let's run some fibs on the top of this one. Run it down. You can see kind of a decent reversal for news, right? I think we actually marked this one off yesterday. We didn't have the 50, but we talked about the level. There's kind of your news. And again, if you use the 50, you missed it by just a smidge. If you'd use the bottom right here where the two candles are, it did actually touch it. So not bad. Let's take this one off. I don't need the base there anymore. Yeah, if we go through the top, I'm not concerned about anything until we get up to 108 or 105.80. So again, if we can break through. Oh, great. Now we're using our bulldozer to bulldoze popcorn everywhere. Yeah, so if we get 105.44, we should be able to go up about 40 more pips up to where the sellers are hiding up in here. And this is a decent high level. Again, retrace yesterday's movement, and we're kind of sitting in the middle. So we actually need a little bit more. Yeah, kind of I like. Question is, will we better drive through this little hiccup? So, yeah, I mean, so the issues that we're having, you see all the chop in here. The issues are the 105. Again, 105, big psychological level, just like a 150. 105 is big for the euro dollar because below 105 is where people start talking about, well, wait a second, are we going to get the parity? That's the parity question level, right? Just like there is trading algorithms with bots. I feel like they already have the news articles already popped up. The second it goes below 105, it's like, okay, that's it. Remember all those parody articles? Let's reprint them. Go, right? It's kind of where things move. So, yeah, I like this one short. Again, we're gonna have to get through the 105 is gonna be a problem. The little hiccup here again because of the 105, it's gonna be a little bit of an issue. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe again, hopefully this ISM number can help get us through there. The U.S. service sector stagnates in September as demand conditions wane further. Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. Coming out the yeah. So all right, let's see if we can get this lower. Euro pound. So euro pound. Still a lot of chop, but we are finally seeing again. There was so much sideways move in this one, and we really had no news out there. But we do have, and again, you may wonder why is there pound strength in here? There's an article down here. Where is it? Right here. Bailey talking about how talking about more shocks coming. It's like what? Says geopolitical instability has consequences. UK 20-year yield raises in early trade, right? Labor market explains part of the UK inflation. So remember, we just kind of talked about labor and the problems that the hot labor market has. Guess what? Now the UK is again, they're borrowing the same stuff. So that's why, again, labor is one of those things. It's strange, right? Labor, the amount of jobs, but again, people are not getting hired, but there's a ton of jobs out there. It means are all the qualified people remember the the job cycle. Remember, if you jump every so often, you're not worth as much as what you should be, right? Remember, not even a year ago, we had this big, you know what? I'm just going to quit my job because there's so many people wanting to hire. Well, if those same people quit again, it's considered like a red flag, right? So a lot of the people, or they love their new job, right? Or they think their new job is the greatest job ever. But if you leave again within a year, and really what a lot of experts say is if you leave within 2 years after you've just left one, like if you jump and then within 2 years leave again, it's considered a major red flag for corporations that there's no long-term viability in this person. So it's dangerous for those same people to jump again. So that may be why we're not seeing people being hired back, because the best candidates know that they cannot do that. But again, it's driving jolts higher. The Fed's looking at that as an overly hot jobs market and a big problem. So again, that's where we're kind of sitting. Well, the UK mentioned that, and now that's why the UK is dropping. Now, UK, we have this one bracketed off top and bottom, 87.05, 86.34. It will probably come in a little bit early. You know, we always like to draw like kind of if we were short right now, where would we take profit? And it would be right there. And let's make sure this line is exactly the same. Right there you go. So we're not far from it. And again, I think it dips its head down there. So yeah. Yeah. Euro yen. All right, so euro yen. Monsters move down. Obviously, we know why. There's always going to be a retracement back from it. This is why, a lot of people will argue, oh, when they intervene, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Well, it does, right? Because it did drive price down and it was starting to creep back up again, and now it's lower and kind of poisoned. Again, it wasn't really against the euro. The euro had already pushed down here versus the dollar story, which was up here, right? So the dollar one being down versus the euro that was already down, slightly different scenario. Now we are starting to pull back, and again, we just have put a lower high in, and there's a bit of a move here. We'll see if this one can turn and roll. Overall, again, you're seeing the euro pound down. It's pound strength, not necessarily European weakness. But we do have Lagarde speaking later on this afternoon at noon, and she's speaking at the Columbia, at Columbia University. So, is this going to be a market moving piece? Um, I don't think so. I don't think so. Um, but we do know that it looks like the euro is kind of capping out on their raises right now. So again, maybe she mentioned something about not going too far or not. Who knows? You never know what she's going to say. But overall, again, with a lower high in here, again, if we do not shift gears and go higher, remember, the Europeans have sent it back up again, and now we're seeing it kind of falter here with the U.S. session open. Again, we're going to see some profit taking, switching sessions, but we may see this kind of turn and roll back to the downside. So, um, yeah, I think there's a little bit of risk involved there. A little bit of risk. So again, I like this one short. Do you take it short from this level? Technically you could. There's large imbalance. We know what it was. Um, and I don't want to say that, and I think this is important to bring up, right? And then this just goes to my experience. There's not like a handbook on this one. It's just kind of a personal experience with this. We talk about geopolitical events, acts of war, an earthquake, something that is, you can't plan for, right? When a central bank intervenes to change currency prices around, do you count? I mean, if this was a news release, right? If this was a news release, that's different, right? It's not necessarily manipulation with the news release, but it was everybody expected it. This is one of those unexpected things. Like, when one country goes, and starts a war with another one, it's unexpected. President dies of a heart attack suddenly, unexpected. You know, those are things that don't have the same type of rule sets. Intervening is kind of like the same thing, right? Um, it's not a news release. It's not just a market reaction. There was no way for the market to prepare for it, if that makes sense. So, is the same event still there? Not really. I mean, if this was a news event, there'd be orders sitting there. It's like, okay, if it's good, we're going to go long. Yeah, they're preparing for it. Like they manipulated the price beforehand to get this response. There was no manipulation of this one. It just happened. So it's a little bit different. So, as far as a zone, yes, major movement off of there. Could there still be sellers up there? Sure, there was an imbalance, but the imbalance wasn't created with this pair, right? If this was the dollar and you say, hey, they won 50, what do you want? What do you want? Where's your play? Get your play. That's a little bit different of a scenario. So I think it's a little different, but I think this one pushes. What do you want? You want daddy's phone? Well, I don't know what you want. You want daddy's phone? No? He'll be back again. I think he's going to go bug Melissa. Pound dollar. All right, so pound dollar. We're calling for a short from this level, and we ended up getting it. It came in yesterday at like 9:30ish, and ended up punching all the way down. It was very similar to the other trade that we had talked about with the Harry Potter. It's out now. Again, it reversed at 3 o'clock this morning. But there was your entry on the Harry Potter, and again, if you were going to play that through the news, and your 1 to 3 is sitting right there, so it was out rather quickly. Again, multiple times. If you didn't get on the initial response, there's the other response down. So that one is out. It's over. We were actually looking for it to come down to 102.31. We missed it by just a little bit. We missed it by 6 pips. Yeah, 6 pips. Came down to 103.37, and we talked about 31. So less than 6 pips. Yeah, there's that. In the grand scheme of things, if we push this down, you can see that we were kind of trying to bounce off the 61.8. We had a small level. We didn't like it because of that 8 o'clock. That was the news from yesterday. Or I'm sorry, Monday. Again, just didn't like that candle. We kind of drew it. We're like, yeah, it's not our favorite. It's not really there. And you can see it chopped a little bit on it, right? You can see the wick over wick there. It chopped a little bit and it's turning from it. I think it makes sense. Again, this has been the low, 3 o'clock. So again, European session, right? European session. And you can see it was literally the bottom of the day. And now we drove up, and then the peak was right at 9 o'clock, 9:30, right when the U.S. session came in. So it's profit taking. The big question on this one, again, we got all this chop coming right. Oops. We got all this chop sitting right here. Is there going to be a Harry Potter trade in here? And I would say this one, overall, I actually do like this one on kind of like a fundamental basis, but also like looking at technicals, right? I like that it drove straight up. If we see any type of basing in here, looking for a pullback on this one, I think this one is a decent one to take short. It's got room to run. It's got 51 pips. I mean, it's 16 pips worth of risk for 50 down. All it does is it brings us back to the trajectory, right? Yeah, I was looking for that one to kind of push more to the downside. Okay. Throw some numbers on that one. And again, these are not hard numbers, just so you know. Still need the base. Still need the base. And all we're doing is we're bringing it back down to the 120 mark, the low 120s. All right. What else we got here? Pound yen. And again, and you're seeing kind of a push off of it. So kind of the same thing we talked about with the euro yen. We know there was kind of an imbalance there, and you can see it was basing, and there's a little bit of a, there's a lot of chop back and forth in here. It is a 61.8 too, so it does help that it is a 61.8, right? Versus if it was like this, where there's like nothing, in there. Is it as good? No. But now that it's down here, again, computerized algorithms, bots, whatever you want to call them, they just know that the last push from this high to low, they just know that there's 61.8 in there. There's not a button for them that says, oh, the BJ intervened. That's why this one moved. Nope. They just know that here's a 61.8. So they're taking it blindly, not looking at anything else that was involved with it. It just happens to be a level of basing. And again, we were using the green candle, not the red. There's a base in there. Now, it's not huge, not a big one. And again, it looks very, very similar to the other trade. 1 to 3 sits right there. And again, 25 for 75 in the other direction. Right. I think there's going to be a little bit of a hiccup here, but overall, again, the profit taking that we've seen, we should be able to roll this one back to the downside. Okay. We do need some yen help though. We do need some yen help, FYI. But yeah, again, this is one we talked about yesterday. Dollar CAD. Now, dollar CAD continuing to grind. Look at this. Boom, boom, boom. Base, 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 base. Boom, boom, boom. We're looking for 138. Happy to say we are past. So we're clear there, which is awesome. And we're driving. Right now, we're looking for about another 40 pips. This one has a 31 pip 4-hour ATR. Overall, until it hits there, I'm not interested. And again, a lot of this is probably the oil story right now. Not that the dollar, I mean, again, looking at the Dixie. Right, looking at the Dixie, I guess the dollar is starting to raise up again. U.S. market came online. Let's go. Right there. Yeah, look at the 50. Um, so overall, it would be great if we can go another 40 pips and then turn and reverse back down again. I think that would be awesome. It's kind of what I'm looking for right now. But until we get to that level, and again, if you want to set like a little bit of an alert in here, set it a little bit early, right? Set it a little bit early. Look for that to turn and push. Okay. Dollar Swiss. So dollar Swiss pulling back. So we actually yesterday at 10, that news actually tagged that upper level, that 24.43. And it kind of came up again, and now it's just continuing to push lower. Now, we talked about a potential level down here, and you can see if you look across, it hit it, bounce, hit it and bounce, hit it and base, and then it's doing its thing. So the 50 got hit. Um Even like I was like looking, I was like, do I like any of these? Do I like any of these short? Not really. I mean, you got to acknowledge there's a base in here, and it came back and then went lower. Do I want to trade off of that base? Nah, not really. It's two. I think right now this is the two we're looking for. There's a decent top. There's a decent bottom, and we're cruising right in the middle. And again, if this does turn, there's nothing stopping this until we get down lower, which is a tested level, but I think we can get a little bit more out of it. I like the test here versus the test here. Top side, I think we do have a little bit of a hiccup, probably sitting right there. Um, I think that's where we're going to run into a little bit of a hiccup. And again, are we talking about monstrous areas here? No, this is it's about 12 pips, so it's not the worst, right? It's not the worst. But right now, there's our top and bottom. We're literally skirting right at the 50% mark right now. It has gone down and touched the 61.8. But again, 78 is also sitting down there. So if you're looking for any type of continuation, great. But understand, again, remove dollar Swiss up here. If this comes back up again, you're like, yeah, this would be a downtrend. But again, right now, do you want to really play against the dollar with everything we have going on in the political nature of things? I feel like probably no. So just use caution with it. All right. Dollar yen. So, dollar yen. You can see we had the initial push down and the push back up again. So you can say, did it work? Well, it wiped 100 pips off. It gave them 100 pips worth of breathing room. It also got it all the way down to 147. And then as it came back up again, if they started doing massive amounts of selling or buying here, right, and that's what drove the price down, and then had to come back and pay. I mean, there's a difference between the two. They were able to profit from it. So right now, it's about 100 pips lower than where we are, and the BOJ has already said, and one of the statements is that they'll do whatever they need to do, to continue managing the controlling price. Excuse me. So where it is, I think you know what we saw in everything else, right? We saw a lot of the other pairs, the dollar doing this, right? The dollar strengthening, 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 strengthen. This one looked like this, right? It was much more of a grind to get up to that area. And it was like, oh God, oh, it's like right here, right? Right? You can see it was this type of grind where everything else was like that, right? Those were here. These are the differences between the two, right? And then the intervention came in. So they all had the same intervening, I guess it's a better term, not intervention. Well, I guess intervention. I don't know. Intervening, whatever. They all had this gigantic move, and it was just whether it was here or whether it was here. So absolutely. I think that the concerns about this one, and again, is there a trade set up here? Um, no, not really. Consolidating in, kind of forming a platform. Can we use the clearing wick here? Yeah, you kind of can, right? You kind of can, but you're seeing that the buyer stepped in, buyer stepped in, buyer stepped in. You almost got to use the old level here because this was artificial. So if we approach up top to 150 again, we get up to the 149, 75, 80-ish range. Look to see. A lot of people will be looking for some type of a sell motion. But I do think if we push back down again, we could get more. So let's see. What was the services data? I love it. It stagnates. It went up a little bit. I guess not up. It went down a little bit, but higher than what the expectation was. So it's not bad. It's not bad. And I say it's not bad. You don't necessarily want to see it go down, but remember, 50 is the big thing that we're looking for, right? Is there much difference between? Can you tell me the difference between 54.5 and 53.6? No, not really. But I know that it's expanding. I know that it's not sitting at 50.01 where next time it can show contraction. So, um, yeah, yeah, not horrible data. But again, 49, look, 49 flat. I think we don't really change the trajectory too much on this one. If anything, we look more towards the downside. Is there a trade setup in there? No, not really. Again, typically it takes a week to kind of work these out. We'll see if we can get any strong data. Now, crude continuing to drop. So yesterday we talked about that 23.6 level, and it ended up spiking. It turned, came back up again, and then it failed and collapsed. So, yeah, there were probably some oil traders yesterday that lost some money on this one, only because it came up and and they're positive, and they walked away from it, and then it went up and stopped them out, and then ended up going exactly where they thought it was going to go to. So, right now, here's where oil is. We are playing with a larger scale 50% retracement level. This 86.39. That's where we're running into right now. And right now, I think the talk of Russia talking about we're going to reevaluate these cuts. OPEC plus, we could potentially remove the cuts if it dictates it. And again, some of that's probably coming out of China, but just the mention of it, just the mention of the cuts has dropped this basically $4 in the last 24 hours. It just shows you how volatile this market can be. I think use caution with it. Again, if we do find the bottom here, and we do have confirmed buyers coming in at 86 kind of 29, 86.30, and we got down to 86.36. Yeah, I think the big thing on this one right now is look for that bottom. I think once the market has factored in the cuts, um, I personally don't think OPEC will change anything. I think just the mention of the cuts has shot it so far down, and the talk of China starting to kind of stabilize itself should have jacked this price up again. Um, and again, not seeing that type of spike up there. So I think the motivation is going to be zero. So look for a reversal. Again, if we do find a bottom right around here, there is a little bit of a basing and pullback, that impulse correction area right around the 23. So I'm going to put this on there as yellow as a potential area where we could look for a reversal, this 88.40. I hope tomorrow we're talking, and I hope it's sitting all the way down here at 83.65. It was the next level that we had that was kind of, we'd marked it off green. It was okay. It's not my favorite of levels. I think 84 is I think 84 is now a better level because it's actually got a fib area on it. 84.10. Oh god, how awesome would that be? I think it's 84.16 is fine. No Harry Potter here. Remove that. 84.20 is going to be our target right now. Man, how awesome is that going to be? If we're talking about 84.20 tomorrow, oh, that would be great. I mentioned it yesterday, half jokingly, but our gas is Sam's Club, again, they're about 10 cents cheaper than everybody else. They're at 3.35. We may be, with this big of a drop, I don't know, by the weekend, we could be at like the 328-ish, 325-ish. I don't know if this continues, if Russia actually does it. I don't know, man. 2.99 gas. I may have to buy a tank and fill that sucker up. So yeah, I don't know. That's nice. It's great here, but then over here it's not great. As you can see, yesterday we talked about this. We said we probably got one more hit out of it. Well, it front ran it and started the base, and once it base, it's like no, it's done, and it hit it again and pulled back and grabbed that base and then went higher. So again, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. We thought we could get one more. Again, the front run, the base here is what got scary. It did actually trigger, but when it started to push back down again from that level, you're like, nope, this level's done. And then it based and gave you another opportunity to say, we are not getting short. And it dropped lower again and went through. So all the signs in this one were there. Again, we got multiple hits out of it. Let's remove it right now. We're still looking for this. We're going to be hopeful in that one. But let's see, do we have anything that really helps us? Yeah, look at all the basing around the 50. I think it's important to kind of point that out. What we do with it right now, I don't think much. But I think if we are going to pull back down again for tomorrow, if you are looking for shorts up here, I'd say 295 is kind of where we're looking for this to pull back down to today. Um, I think overall that's not a bad spot. Not a bad spot to be. Again, 302 crappy. 295 is okay. They start pushing us back down to that 282 range. But right now, being at 50%, I think that's going to be the important level. So watch that level. Gold. So you see gold, it's basically range bound. I mean, if you put the bottom in from yesterday, that's where we were. It's been hit now a few times, right? We had this little piece right here on Tuesday morning, and here's the intervention time, and really didn't do much, and it grown pushed down, and the Europeans drove it back up again. And what did it do? It grabbed the same area here and then went back down. We're playing with it, but there's one, there's two, there's three right now. We're absolutely at a level where, again, you can see these things push to the downside, right? That's where we're at. At this point, being down here, knowing that this level has been hit multiple times, if you look back to here, this is kind of what we're dealing with, right? We talked about targets down 85.10, but you know, this is going to be the next area. Is there anything clean in here that you're screaming like that's a buy? That level's great. Not really. I mean, it's been a lot of time basing around that. Really, the 1810 to 1812 range. But how much of that is eaten up and gone? If you go back a little bit farther, again, we have this, and then there's a drop down to 1840. So I think right now, I mean, our end of the week target for this one, I think we're looking at 1800 in gold. I do think we will get one more comment, and yeah, again, people aren't getting hired back, but there's a million, there's tons of people out there. I mean, there's tons of job openings. Remember, when they're talking about the labor market is hot, they're not talking about too many people getting hired. They're talking about too many jobs. Again, it's you know the higher the amount of job openings is what JOLTS is demand for new employees, right? People getting hired is basically the supply side. So the hot job market is hotter than it's been in a long, long time. Yeah, people aren't getting hired back, but that's not the side they're worried about. All right. So if we get any type of inflation gauge, I think again, we need to kill this thing more. It's still too hot. It's not, I think we're looking for 1800. We're at least down to like 1805 by the end of the week. So if we can get a short in here, is there a Harry Potter? There, you could potentially do one, but I think it's a little bit dangerous because of the small bases that we're pushing into. But again, if you want to trade this in some type of an option-based product, any and there's multiple ways to play this in options, both traditional. Um, you know, I think taking this one short is not the worst, right? Not the worst trade. And silver, you can see silver also accelerating. Now, silver. Yesterday, I drew this purple rectangle and said, "Hey, listen, this is kind of the range that we're in. I think we're going to be a little bit more range bound. That's kind of where we're at, right? Um, we're just range bound. We came right back up to the same area of sellers before, right? And right around the 20, again, it's the 23 now that we had to push down. And again, had you taken the short, it's going to the other side. The question is, can we punch through 2070, right? Again, I think it's range bound. I think if we stay on the lower side of this and then we get some type of mention, I think it's very, very hard with the JOLTS data going up as high as it did and it actually being higher than it was before. It was kind of like a false celebration. I do think this has to be able to go lower. I think if we, right? Tomorrow, are we getting it here? No. Can we get it here? That's the question. Um, again, hot job market, unemployment rate expected to drop down to 3.7. So showing that we're not killing the economy. I'm actually curious if that won't drop. I'm curious to see if this one comes in at like 80, 90, and then this one here stays at 3.8. That may help. That may help a little bit, right? But if it does drop to 3.7 as the market's like, oh God, look at this. The job market's still hot. We have more job openings. The unemployment rate's going down. There's just not people to hire back. It's too hot. That's a recipe for silver and gold. Gold to break down to 1800 and silver to get down there into the, touching $20. So if we're touching 1820 by the end of the week because of that non-farm number, would not be surprised. Okay. No shock there. Apple, again, range bound, right? Tesla, up here. I did see. I did. It's funny. After they called AOC an extremist, I was like, really? I was like, I'm like, you haven't heard much from her lately, and I don't know if it's because like she's just been censored that they don't want to bring things up anymore that she says. Um, Maybe that's what it is. But I was like, oh, AOC news. Supposedly she's ready to get rid of her Tesla to buy a Ford or GM, U.S. built EV because of the strike to support the union workers. I was like, okay, sure. Meanwhile, she wants to jack up the insurance or jack up the taxes on her definition of the new rich or whatever in New York. And I was like, wow. I was like, maybe it was good that I didn't haven't seen news of her. So I've never been a big fan of her. I do think young blood in the Senate is absolutely 100% important. Think that's great, but I think she's a little bit, you know, the whole eat the rich thing. I'm like, it's just in poor taste in my mind. Like you don't like, you know, I think there's class and then there's not class, and I throw in that category. So do like new people, but um, yeah, I think young blood is better than old blood, but I think young blood needs to have some experience, or I don't know if crass is there. They can't be crass. They have to have polish. Love it, like Obama, not like Obama. It's hard to say that he wasn't professional and wasn't you know polished. I guess polished. Maybe polished is a good word. You know, people complain that he wasn't tenured enough. Um, you know, maybe not for president, but I don't think anybody's ever experienced enough for president. I guess if you're vice president, but then the problem is you run into a 80-year-old guy who shouldn't be there anyway. So yeah, but yeah, obviously the AOC news is not affecting Tesla too much. VIX pulling back down again yesterday was lots of drama. It will stabilize and probably go higher. The dollar still continuing to rise. We're at that 50% mark. We'll see if we punch through. ES, yeah, it's getting red. It's getting red. Opening print, no. 7:30 chop up and down. 8:30 chop up and down. 9 chop down. It's gonna be more choppy here. Yeah. Chop, 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 chop. Down, up, up. Nothing over here. No confirmed levels. Again, is red the right call? I don't think red is the bad call. No, no. And funny enough, look at this. When did we start to rally? When did the market become okay? When the Europeans came in at 3 o'clock. And what happened when the U.S. session started at 9:30? Right there, the profit taking came in. So again, Europeans drove it up. Look at that. We're breaking Globex highs. Go long. Straight back down. Yeah, so not great. NQ. What do we got in NQ? NQ, again, here's the 930 candle. It's actually below the 930 open right now. It took a spike up. And again, this one kind of rallied up, but there was no confirmed level. It kind of just gone off a level, but pushed it pretty deep. So I wasn't super concerned. Three dashes of downside, I think. Make sure, I think turn and look for that one to continue to push. Right. I think there's sellers up there. There are some buyers in there. Push the 61. So, NQ potentially has a long right there. Oops. 14,686.75. Yeah, not bad. Not a bad spot. If we come down to there, obviously target first, but it is a base. It is a 61.8 off the high to low. So again, watch out for that one. Could be a potential trade for NQ today. Opening print, obviously, no, we were punching up high and there was no confirmed levels over here in the overnight. It was basically straight up. We would have been looking for pull downs. Yeah, 1468. YM, 839. YM was kind of sitting in a zone. It's very, very, it was a very sloppy zone. You can see this is a garbage. This is a very bad zone. It hit it. I mean, if you used it again, 8:45, 9 o'clock, could you have? Sure. I don't know. Let me see. Is there any? This was going back up, so run it from here. Is there anything that would have helped it? Not really. From the true peak. Yeah, I guess from the true peak, I guess you could have got some help there. Right, from the most recent high to the most recent low, there was a 23 that was going through. Again, I don't like the zone. It was a junk zone, but it was there for news. It was there for the 8:30 news this morning. So yeah, you could have taken a short off of that one. Again, it would have been the 8:15 non-farm news. 8:15 is right there, so it's a spike up. So yeah, you could have taken this one as a news-based trade. Opening print, no, the opening print was already sitting right here. You're already punching back down, coming off a level. So again, had you done your homework and been tracking this one longer term, again, news-based trade, but not opening print. And then as far as Russell, I thought I drew on high, low this one. Sometimes things don't always go. Yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, that's what I thought. Again, a little bit better of a zone, not great, but it was a 23.6 at news time. So news trade, 9:30 is sitting right here. You're already coming off of a news trade, so there's no way to get in. So this one's absolutely out. It's actually past the lowest at this point. So definitely past the 1 to 3. It's probably God, it's probably like 1 to 6, maybe 1 to 6. Let's see, 1 to 6. 5.5, 5.5. I was close. 5.5. I almost said 5. But I was like, I feel like it's closer to 6. Yeah, so big trade. Again, 2 news trades in the indices, but just no opening prints out there today. So, like I said, a lot of commentary today. This number, not necessarily the best sign, but remember, this is just the ADP version. This is the private sector. This is not all jobs, is what the the non-farm number is. So that's going to be the bigger one. The services doesn't really change much in there. There you go. Early estimates suggest Japan didn't buy yen on Tuesday. Here's the question. Does it matter if they did or not? No. No, it actually doesn't matter whether they did or they didn't. Right? We mentioned 150 would be a big deal. Question is, how much money for the price to move 300 pips? How much money would it have taken to move it? A little bit or a lot, right? A lot. So whether they did, great, don't care. Whether they didn't, what if this was Goldman Sachs, or what if this was the European Union, or what if this was one of the other big players out there? Does it really matter? No. But we know that 150 was a big area that they talked about, and it moved 300 pips instantaneously. So something happened. That's all we need to know, right? So it really doesn't matter whether they did or they didn't. I don't know. I guess if you want to call them currency manipulators, but so are we, right? We're raising interest rates and lowering interest rates, to control inflation. We're making the dollar more expensive or weaker. So countries do it all the time. So yeah, but it's funny. Early estimates suggest they didn't do it. Okay, who cares? Doesn't matter to me, man. It dropped 300 pips. We said 150, watch it happen. And at 150, it skyrocketed. So if they didn't do it, somebody tried to beat them to it, because they would have. So, hey, somebody's front running the BOJ. Go have fun. All right, let's do the drawing. All right. I will give you guys till, and again, I started this one early and actually left this up here. I will give this one to 26. Right? We don't normally have it be at 26. 15 seconds more. Oops. All right. I missed it by a second. All right. Winner stage drawing is Ernest. Whatever juju you got is bad, dude. At least it wasn't 3. It was only number 2. What's it, guys? All right. Let me give Neuro his loot. Neuro 25. There we go. All right. Hey, Ernest. I must say, at this point, Ernest, for your sake, I feel conspiracy, right? I feel conspiracy. I feel like this is the same thing. Like you're like a McCarthy, right? I feel like, they're all ganging up on you, my friend. I feel like they're ganging up on you. So, all right. With that, I'm out of here. I'll catch you guys 9:30 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning. And with that, good trading. Stay safe, stay warm, stay dry. If you're on the beach, drink lots of cocktails for me. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Have a good one. Take care.